1998 through 2006 BMW E46 3 Series cam sensor A replacement. I'm Brian Essick from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the steps of replacing cam sensor A. Cam sensor A or intake cam is under the Vanos here. Cam sensor B, the exhaust cam, is located right here on the timing cover. You can see the connector right there. So we're going to do cam sensor A in this video. The first thing we need to do is unplug the Vanos here. So you're going to stick your finger back here and push the little electrical connector and push the little tab and then push the electric connector off. So I pushed the little clip with my finger and then used a little pry bar like this to help push off the connector. So once you get that disconnected, the next step is we're going to need a 1 1/4 inch wrench like this. And you're going to put it right here on the Vanos and you're just going to crack it free. So just rotate it counterclockwise. And these are only sealed with a little O-ring, so they're not very tight. So you just crack them free. Once you crack them free, you can spin them out by hand. So go ahead and spin the Vanos out, and then we'll just set this aside for right now. So now that we got the Vanos out, you can see the cam sensor here. Before we unbolt it, we need to unplug the electrical connector, and it's got a long cable or wire hooked up to it. So we need to get access to that wire. To do that, we need to remove the air box. So we'll get started by loosening up the hose clamp, and then we're going to unplug the mass airflow sensor. After the clamp is loose and the mass air is unplugged, I'm going to use my Milwaukee M18 3/8 drive impact gun here to remove the two 10mm bolts on the air cleaner. So after removing the bolts, the next step is there's going to be a little wire loom here well, in this case it's already disconnected, but it's plugged in right here on this little catch on the back of the air box, so you'll pull that off. After that, then you're going to lift the air box up and pull the air boot off. So you're just going to give it a little wiggle. And then there's a snorkel here that you're going to pop off. And you tilt it at an angle and pull it out just like this. Now you can set the air box aside. Now that the air box has been removed, the next step is going to be to remove the 5mm Allen bolt from the cam sensor. So you're going to go ahead and crack that free and spin that bolt out, and then you can go ahead and pop the cam sensor out. I used a little flat blade screwdriver. So I stuck it in behind it, give it a little twist like this. It's sealed with a little O-ring, so you're going to pop it out like that. Now with the cam sensor unbolted, you can kind of wiggle it and pull on the wire like this. And if you look right here underneath, you can see how the wire's routed and how it's wiggling and what it's plugged into. So just below the air snorkel is where the cam sensor plugs into. There's a little junction box. It's just underneath the dipstick too. You can see it here. So right here is the connection. So you just squeeze the connector and pull it off like that. Once you got it disconnected, now you can pull the sensor through and out. So here is the new cam sensor A. I will link this up in the description of the video. That way if you guys need to pick it up, you can find it there. Before installing the new sensor, I'm going to use a rag and wipe out the hole that it was mounted into, making sure there's no debris. So I'm going to start by routing the connector in just underneath the vent hose here, or just above the Vanos hose, the high pressure hose, and right next to the oil filter housing here, and start feeding it down. Then what I'll do is I'll reach around the backside and I'll pull it through with my hand. So once you get it pulled through like this, before we plug it in, I'm going to go ahead and bolt up the sensor. So I went ahead and installed a new O-ring that came with the new sensor. I like to put a little grease or a little oil on the O-ring, and that helps it slide back into place. So once you got it lubricated a little bit, then you can feed it down into the into position. It takes a little finesse and angling it to get it in there. Then you push it in there, and once you got it pushed in all the way, then you can install the 5mm Allen bolt. Before I install the Allen bolt though, I like to put a little bit of blue thread locker on the bolt. And it's a little glue that helps prevent the bolts from backing back out. Now you can go ahead and screw the Vanos back in, and it has an O-ring on it that seals it, so make sure it's in good shape. If it needs to be replaced, replace it. But I'm going to reuse mine. So you just spin it back in by hand like this. Then use your wrench to just snug it up. It doesn't have to be very tight. Like I said, the O-ring does the sealing, so you snug it up. Then you can go ahead and plug in the electrical connector here. As you push it on, you should hear a little audible click. And once you got it pushed all the way on, give it a little tug to make sure it doesn't pop back off. Now you can take the other end of the connector and kind of route it back the way you took it out. So once you got the wire routed through, Then you can go ahead and plug it back in. And the same thing, I'm going to push it on until you hear that click and make sure that it doesn't pop back off by giving it a little tug after you're done installing it. So now we're ready to reinstall the air box, but if you flip it over and look at this little channel here on the bottom of the box, it has to fit over this rubber grommet right here when you install it, so keep that in mind. So we're going to lower the box down at an angle like this, and we're going to have to stab the snorkel here on the front, and then as you lower it down, you'll have to put the air snorkel onto the mass airflow sensor. You have to kind of wiggle it and get it to land on that little perch that I showed you. After you get that done, you can plug in the mass airflow sensor, tighten up the hose clamp, and then put on the little rubber grommet or wire loom holder here on the back. Then you can install the 2 bolts and tighten it up. I'm going to use my Milwaukee M18 fuel again. I'll put a link for it in the description of the video. I think it's a valuable tool for you guys to check out. So once you got that complete, that'll complete the job of replacing cam sensor A or intake cam on a BMW E46. I'm Brian Esser from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this, and also to remind you that I will link up all the parts and tools that I use in this video in the description. That way if you need to pick any of those up, you can find them there. Thank you again for watching.